How's it going, YouTube? We're bringing you guys another rulings video. Today, we have our rulings video on, that's right, EX02. As the thumbnail should suggest, we have EX02 coming out. I got my hands on the cards a little bit early, so I was able to go ahead and put this video out. I know that there are a few things in this video particular that I want to go over. There's going to be some ruling things. There's also going to be some errata things. Hopefully that by the time this video comes out, Bandai may or may not have put out some sort of errata statement like they did when I released my last BC8 video, and then they put out the erratas like the same day that I put out the video. Hopefully they do something like that again to address these, but we'll get over those when we get to those. Before we hop into the video, I want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support on the channel. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers, huge milestone, and I could not have done it without you guys, of course. And I do appreciate the continued support and everything. Hopefully these ruling videos do continue to help people. I will continue to put them out as the sets go along. More questions come out. I still have some older rulings that I need to go over that maybe to help clear some things up for some of the older sets, maybe some cards that people don't think about anymore, but may come up every now and then in the future. But all that being said, again, thank you guys so much for supporting the video channel. If you do still enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like on this video. That helps out a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Leave any comments down below about any other questions you may have. Hit that little notification bell so you know when my videos go live for you. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and hop into the first set of rulings for EX02 Digital Hazard. All right, everyone, so into our first ruling here. We're going to start off in red, just like we have in some of the past ruling videos, and then work our way down to white eventually. But we're going to go ahead and have here, the board state is going to look as this. This just needs to be a level 5 purple or red Digimon. Doesn't really matter. In player A's hand, they will also have a Megidramon. The important effect that we're going to worry about here is the when Digivolving effect. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 10k DP or less. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, very specific on deleted by this effect, both players trash the top 5 cards of their deck. Our opponent here on this side has a Ginryumon with the Reapermon inheritable, so it gives it decoy black effectively, and then the Hisaryumon on the on player B side of the field. So here player A will go ahead, digivolve into the Megidramon. This of course triggers Megidramon's when digivolving effect to target, and in this situation they're going to target the Hisaryumon. So they'll attempt to delete the Hisaryumon. It's at this point that player B is able to activate the effect of Ginryumon with the inheritable of Reapermon to prevent the deletion of this black Digimon by deleting this Digimon. So in this situation, since the Digimon wasn't deleted specifically by the effect of Megidramon, both players will have to mill the top 5 cards of their deck. But Sushi, a Digimon was deleted, but since the card says that it has to be deleted by this effect, you did not delete the Hisaryumon via the effect of Megidramon. You the opponent caused the deletion of the Ginryumon to prevent the deletion of the Hisaryumon. It wasn't deleted by the effect of Megidramon, so you will have to do the other part of Megidramon's effect. Think of it similar to Samadhi Santi. You can target an already suspended Digimon by the effect of Samadhi Santi, but to keep it from unsuspending, it has to be suspended by the effect of Samadhi Santi. So in this situation, to not have to do the second part of the effect, you have to delete the Digimon by this effect. Any Digimon deleted by another effect during the same time frame as this effect is resolving does not cause the stop of the second part, so both players will have to mill the top 5 cards of their deck. Alright everyone, so into our next red ruling here. Got kind of a weird board state. We got unsleeved cards, we got sleeved cards, we have a crimson mode. What's happening? I'll go ahead and break it down for you. So to start off, player A of course has Gallantmon Crimson mode on their side of the field. What we're worried about here is Gallantmon Crimson mode's when attacking effect. When attacking, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Add 1 to the number of cards trashed by this effect for every 10 cards in your opponent's trash. Your opponent has 9 cards in trash. I just kind of fanned them out this way so you could see. That way I didn't have the same colored cards, so you can see exactly they have 9 cards. This is effectively their trash. And this is the player B's security stack. They have 4 cards in security. So what we're going to go over here is something I actually had come up the other day where I saw somebody ask the question, and I felt like it was good to go over because it could come up in the future. So what we have here is Gallantmon Crimson mode will attack. This will of course trigger his when attacking effect. So at this point, I had somebody ask, whenever you declare the attack with Gallantmon Crimson mode, the first part of the attack trashes 1 card regardless from the top of their security. The second part trashes for every 10 cards in trash. Well, if they have less than 10 cards in trash, say 9 cards in trash, does the first effect trash the next card? And then that puts 10 cards in trash, so then it would trash another card via the effect. That is not the case. what happens here in Gallantmon Crimson Mode's case is instead of just burning 2 cards for this situation, it will only burn 1. It checks at the resolution of the when attacking effect to see how many cards are in trash before it does even the first burn of the security. So in this situation, we have 9 cards in trash. We will only burn 1 security. If he had 10, then of course, yes, you would burn 2 cards in security. But since there are 9 cards in trash right here, and it won't consider the first card burned and then calculate for the second card burned off the top of security, it will only check for the first one. So not something too big. I think this one is not too in-depth or too complicated, but I did want to go over it because I did have the question come up and I just wanted to make sure all the air was clear on this effect, because I think we're going to see this card show up a decent amount in the meta. Alright everyone, so into our next set of rulings. No blue rulings for this one, nothing super complicated I felt like needed to be addressed. And for the yellow rulings, there's really only one card. I'm sure there's more that some people could come up with to ask, and if you do, just be sure to leave it in the comments, but right now I only have one that I really wanted to go over here. And that's going to be over EX02 Antilemon. So EX02 Antilemon states if you have a Su Chong Wong or Suzy Wong, whichever you really want to prefer, we're going to go with Su Chong Wong here, because we're going off of what the card says and not what the dub says. And if you have a Su Chong Wong in play, your Lopmon, in brackets, just Lopmon, can Digivolve into this card in your hand for a Digivolution cost of 3, ignoring its Digivolution requirements. So in this situation, our board state is Su Chong Wong, a purple Lopmon, and a yellow Lopmon. So here, you can choose, you have a Su Chong Wong, you have this effect in hand, you can Digivolve your Lopmon into an Antilemon for 3. Of course, it's yellow, that makes sense, but it doesn't specify colors, and it says ignoring its Digivolution requirements. So in this situation, you can Digivolve your purple Lopmon, this is the BT7 Lopmon, into an Antilemon right away if you want to. Not something that I've ever seen somebody ever think it'll come to too much fruition, but I have had somebody ask me this question before, so I felt like it was important to go over that your Antilemon can just go ahead and Warp Digivolve on top of the Lopmon, and you won't have to, it's a perfectly legal play because it just says Lopmon ignoring Digivolution requirements. It doesn't say you have to pay the color requirements or ignore just the level requirements or anything like that. You ignore all the requirements, you can Digivolve right on top of your purple Lopmon. Alright everyone, so into our green rulings. It looks a little funky, I know, right? There's not just a green Digimon, there's also a purple and red Digimon. It just needs to be a Digimon. That's all that really matters here in this situation for this example. So what we have here, the card in question that we're worried about here is Parasitemon. So Parasitemon is a new card that reads, end of attack, you may place this Digimon under one of your Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards. So this is a situation here where they have removed the reminder text, basically, in this situation. They've just not worried about some of the reminder text about what happens to the Digivolution cards. So in this situation, what happens is you swing your Parasitemon at security, it lives, or you swing it at a Digimon, it lives. At the end of attack, you may, so it's optional, of course, you don't have to do this, but then you may place this Digimon under the bottom Digivolution card of one of your other Digimon. Well, what I've always had happen, what happens with the rest of the sources? Do they go with the Parasitemon? Where do they go? They, in fact, go to the trash. It's any effect like this, it kind of happens with the Skull Knightmon with the Deadly Axemon that says remove all the sources underneath, or you add the Deadly Axemon after you trash all the sources. It's the same exact thing. It's a similar thing, I should say, where after the Parasitemon, if you activate the effect to put it underneath one of the sources, you just get rid of the sources. This doesn't count as trashing the sources, so if there's an effect that gains you a memory, like Gomamon's effect, or that's an Altern's effect, that'll gain you a memory for trashing, for when your opponent trashes the Digivolution sources, this will not trigger that effect because you did not trash the Digivolution sources. The game sends the Digivolution sources to the trash as you add the Parasitemon to the source of another Digimon. So, just a little clarify that, it affects on some of the wording, and they just left out the wording of what happens to the sources, so I wanted to elaborate on that, just in case anybody tries to work out and make Parasitemon fit into a deck. Alright everyone, so into our second and last green ruling that I have for you today. We're going to go over an effect that has been addressed in the past. I've addressed it in the recent starter deck structure, or the structure deck video with rulings, and so you might see where this is going, but this is going to involve Mega Gargomon. This is the new Mega Gargomon from EX02, of course. What we're worried about here is the when Digivolving effect. For each green tamer you have in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. They don't unsuspend during your opponent's unsuspend phase. So here, Our board state is as this. We have a level 5. It happens to be Reapermon, you know, theme and whatnot. We have a Henry on the field, green tamer. This could be any green tamer, of course, just as this could be any green level 5. And then we have a suspended Digimon. I'm just going to get the mileage out of sleeving up this Megidramon. That's all it really is. So here, we'll go ahead and Digivolve our Reapermon into Mega Gargomon. This will, of course, trigger its when Digivolving effect to suspend one of our opponent's Digimon. Well, they already have a Megidramon on their side of the field. Yes, but as mentioned with the Dino B ruling and BT3 Mega Gargomon, you are allowed to target the Digimon via the effect even if it is already suspended. And since it was the target of the effect of Mega Gargomon, you are able to keep it suspended until the end, keep it suspended during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. Again, this is exactly like the Mega Gargomon and exactly like the Dino Beamon DNA Digivolve effect. Of course, this is different from Samadhi Santi because Samadhi Santi does specifically state it has to be suspended by the effect of Samadhi Santi to get that inability to unsuspend. But here, there is no stipulation as like that. So as long as you target it legally via the effect of Mega Gargomon, even if it is already suspended, you may keep it suspending until the end of your opponent's next turn effectively, or keep it suspended during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. Alrighty, so the next color we have to go over is black. So in this situation, the card that we're going to have in question is Reapermon. So this is not a card that a lot of people may have seen because it hasn't seen a lot of play in Japan, but it has an interesting ruling, and I felt like it was had somebody ask the question the other day, and I felt it was interesting to go over, so I might as well address it for the people that want to play it. It is a cyborg card, so it can see some play because of that, possibly. So what Reapermon states, it has a reboot, that's not what we're worried about here, but it says opponent's turn once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon becomes unsuspended, de-Digivolve one, that Digimon. So this is a once per turn effect, so of course you can't do it multiple times. That would be kind of busted. But here, what we have is this situation. Player A, of course, has a Reapermon, and it is going over into player B's unsuspend phase. So they will go to unsuspend all of their Digimon. Now, in this situation, this triggers Reapermon. Now, Reapermon says when an opponent's Digimon becomes unsuspended, de-Digivolve one. So it de-Digivolve one, that Digimon. So in this situation, we have 3 simultaneously unsuspended Digimon. In this situation, you get to choose which Digimon you want to de-Digivolve. So here in this situation, they of course, none of them have Digivolution sources, so we're not de-Digivolving down, and of course this is a level 3. This is more so for the point that if you wanted to, let's say it was this type of stack, and they both, the Reapermon and the Hisaryumon both unsuspended, you could then de-Digivolve down the Hisaryumon and choose that over the Reapermon or something like that. Or you could choose the Reapermon to keep from de-Digivolving the Hisaryumon. Just know that if multiple Digimon unsuspend simultaneously, such as at the beginning of the unsuspend phase, this effect does trigger during the unsuspend phase, and you have to choose one Digimon. You don't get to de-Digivolve all 3 of them. You just choose one of the 3 Digimon and de-Digivolve that target. Alright everyone, so even though there's black cards on the field, this is technically going to go start our purple section. On our purple rulings, we only have 2 really important ones that I wanted to go over here, so we'll go ahead and talk about them. So here what we have on the field is 2 Alice McCoys. This is the card in question. So Alice McCoy states, your turn once per turn, when one of your Digimon would Digivolve from a level 5 to a level 6, you may delete one of your Digimon to reduce the Digivolution cost by 3. Here, our board state is a Hisaryumon, a Reapermon, a Genryumon, and we have an Oriyumon in our hand. So in this situation, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and declare that we're going to Digivolve our Hisaryumon into this Oriyumon. This will trigger both Alices. Now, let's say if there's just one Alice on the field, this will trigger the one Alice. You delete the Genryumon for the effect. You Digivolve into the Oriyumon. This reduces the cost down to 1. You only pay 1 memory, and then you get Oriyumon's effect. But when you have 2 Alices, since they are both interruptive, they both have the same trigger timing, they will trigger at the exact same time, and then you get to activate them in sequence. Assuming no other effect interrupts that, but you will activate them in sequence. So here, the Alice will interrupt the Digivolve. You'll go ahead and declare the Digivolve into the Oriyumon. Alice 1 will activate. You'll go ahead and delete the Genryumon. This reduces the Digivolution cost by 3. So now effectively Oriyumon is only a 1 cost, but then you can delete the other Reapermon and then reduce the Digivolution cost again. So this effectively would be able to reduce the Digivolution cost by 6. it's only a 4 cost, so we're only able to reduce the Digivolution cost to a maximum of 4. You can't like gain memory from a Digivolve, but we'll go ahead and Digivolve into the Oriyumon for free. This uses up both of the once per turns of Alice's, but they both trigger and they are both able to activate, so that way you are able to go ahead and continuously reduce the cost. If you had some astronomical thing like a Rasenmon, you had 9 security, so Rasenmon would take 9 to Digivolve into. Then if you had 3 Alice's and you deleted 3 Digimon, you could still make him a free Digivolve, because the reduction of the Digivolution cost does get reduced per Alice, so you're able to make them stack. Alright everyone, so on to our second and final purple ruling, but a very important purple ruling in my opinion, because I've had 3 or 4 people ask me this question ever since they started getting their hands on the new cards. So what we have here on our field is a Beelzemon. This specifically just needs to be a Beelzemon. That's all that matters. Some people may see where this is going. And then we have an Ai Mako on our side of the field. So what we're worried about here is Ai Mako's Your Turn effect. When you attack with a Digimon, you may suspend this tamer to trash the top card of your deck. Then, if the attacking Digimon is Beelzemon, you may Digivolve it into a Beelzemon Blast Mode in your trash for a Digivolution cost of 3. Alright, so what we have here is we have a Beelzemon, we have an Ai Mako, and we have a Blast Mode in trash. I have had several people ask me this. So, you would swing the Beelzemon. Then they will say, I choose not to activate Ai Mako, Digivolve into the Beelzemon Blast Mode. That is false. That is not how this effect works. This card is not worded like Blinding Ray and Calling from Darkness. Those cards are worded do X to do Y. So, what Ai Mako is worded like is, when you attack with a Digimon, you may suspend this tamer, do X, to trash the top card of your deck, to do Y, period, then do Z, which is Digivolve into a Blast Mode. If the attacking Digimon is Beelzemon, Digivolve into a Blast Mode for a Digivolution cost of 3. This is similar to something like Mummymon and Imperialdramon Fighter or Paladin Mode. I mentioned Paladin Mode in the BT8 video, and this is the exact same sentence structure on how the effect works. There is a cost to do the whole effect. In Paladin Mode's case, you have to return the Digimon to do the last part after the then, which is to return all Digimon without sources to the bottom of the deck. Ai Mako is the exact same structure. Do X to do Y, period, then do Z. In effects like this, the X is the cost for the whole effect. The best way I've heard this worded is how it is basically worded in the original Japanese. So in the original Japanese, it's better to say do X to do Y and Z. So that's a similar way it's worded. It's not worded exactly like that. I don't read Japanese, but it's worded in a way that makes it so that to do the rest of the effect, to do Y and Z, you have to do the first effect. So it works exactly the same way. So if you use Beelzemon and attack with Beelzemon, you have to suspend Ai Mako. You have to trash the top card of your security to then be able to Digivolve into the Blast Mode on attack. Know that. Do not let somebody just go ahead and swing with their Beelzemon, not suspend and mill that last card of their deck, and to keep themselves from decking out on the following turn so that they can Digivolve into this boy, and then go ahead and, be able to live the following turn and maybe be able to take you out. Know that they have to suspend Ai Mako. They have to trash the top card of their deck to then do the rest of the effect. They can't choose not to suspend Ai and Mako to Digivolve into Blast Mode. That is not how this effect works. Remember, do X to do Y, period, then do Z. You have to do X to do Y and Z. Alright everyone, so on to the last section of the video. This is going to go over white cards. Most of these, of course, actually all of these that I'm going to have are going to be going over D-Reaper cards, because Calamon is another white card, but it has no level, so it works into some of the scenarios. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop into it. The first ones that we're going to go over are cards that need erratas. Again, hopefully Bandai addresses these by the time this video goes live. They may or may not. They did for BT8 when I uploaded the video that Friday. Of course they released it, so hopefully that'll happen again. Bandai beats me to the punch, but at the same time, it's good to get that information out there. So the first card that we're going to go over here is going to be ADR08 Optimizer. So what this card says, for a lot of people that don't know, because not a lot of D-Reaper decks are playing it, says, on play when attacking once per turn, if one of your Mother D Reapers has 5 or more Digivolution cards, you may reveal the top 3, or you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play one D Reaper within its traits with a play cost of 10 or less among them without paying its memory cost. All that translated perfectly fine. The issue here on its translation is place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Now, what is supposed to be stated there is place them on the top of your deck in any order. So this is a very important thing, because let's say that you really wanted to make sure you drew the Reaper and you reveal the Reaper off the top 3. You tuck it to the bottom and one of your Reapers is gone for the rest of the game. But when you put it on the top, then you're able to go ahead and scoop it up right afterwards. So this really does affect on how you're going to be able to stack the top of your deck, as opposed to just seeing the cards go away. So this is a errata that definitely needs to be addressed. I know not a lot of decks are going to play this card because they want to optimize on some of the other things, but at the same time, this is still an errata that does affect how the card is played, so it definitely needs to be addressed just like any other errata for a mistranslation in this game. All right, everyone, so into the next errata. There's only 2 to go over, but both of them are important. In my opinion, this one is even drastically more important because it affects how a lot I've seen people misplay because they did not realize that this card was translated incorrectly. So this is the Reaper. This is the big bad boss monster of the Mother D Reaper deck. This is the card that comes in and wins you the game. People who play against it hate it. People who play it love it. They always want to see it. And then people who fear the Reaper know the Reaper. So what we're going to go over here is the Reaper's effect, which is when you would play this Digimon, you may trash 7 or more Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your Mother D Reaper. This is the translation issue. To reduce this Digimon's play cost to 0. So why is that a translation error? What is the big issue there? So in this situation, the fact that right now it reads reduce the play cost to 0 means that if I have a Psychmon, if player B has a Psychmon on their side of the field, I have a Mother D Reaper with 7 sources, I take those up and hard slam down this Reaper, I cannot reduce the memory cost. This Reaper will cost me 20 to hard play. But what it should state, what it will hopefully be addressed as, because this really does hard affect how the card is played, is when you trash the 7 or more Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your Mother D Reaper to set this Digimon's play cost to 0. So in that scenario, it works like Rasenmon, where Rasenmon can't be stopped by things that reduce the Digivolution cost. In this situation, D Reaper cannot be blocked by a Psychmon that keeps you from reducing play requirements or play costs. So in this situation, you have a Psychmon on your side of the field, you trash your 7 sources underneath your Mother D Reaper, hard playing down your Reaper, it is a 0 cost. The game recognizes it as a 0 cost, not being reduced from 20 to 0, but being set to 0. So you are not out. So Psychmon does not stop the hard play of Reaper. This is a very big translation issue. I've seen it happen multiple times where people thought that the Reaper would not be able to be played because of Psychmon. Psychmon just hard shuts down the deck. Yes, Psychmon does stop the effect of Mother D Reaper to reduce the play cost when they play a D Reaper. If they decide to activate it, it stops that, but it does not stop the Reaper. And this is a very important thing to know, because if you get the Psychmon out too late and they already have the sources underneath their Mother D Reaper and you can just hard slam this boy for free, you're just hard slamming it for free, you're going to town. Psychmon cannot save you there. Alright everyone, so on to our last card ruling that I wanted to go over. This, of course, is going to be over Mother D Reaper. A lot of questions to go with Mother D Reaper. She's got a bunch of weird stuff going on. She's 15k DP. She's a Digi-Egg. She has no level. What the hell is going on? We're going to try to answer some of those. I'm sure there are going to be more questions than the ones that I answer here, but I'm going to go over some ones that I've heard recently, some ones that I thought up of, so I felt like it was important to go over. So here in this situation, the first thing I want to go over is why Mother D Reaper is allowed to exist on the battle area. So, as many people may know, level 2 Digimon, most Digitama, are level 2 Digimon. Say here we have like this here Xiaomon. Xiaomon is level 2 Digimon. Let's say if something happens, you de-digivolve down and Xiaomon is on the field, what happens to Xiaomon? Xiaomon gets yeeted to the trash. He does not get deleted, he gets moved to the trash because the game does not recognize, it cannot keep level 2 Digimon on the field, so it moves it to the trash. But Sushi, Mother D Reaper's a Digitama. Yes, but Mother D Reaper also has no level. So being the fact that it has no level means that it is allowed to stay on the battlefield as a Tama. Not only does it have a level, or not have a level, it also has a DP cost. So the main reason here is the fact that it doesn't have a level. So unlike a regular Digitama, which is a level 2, it is allowed to stay on the field. But also it has a DP value, which also adds to it here. So because of that, there are a few weird interactions that are going to be gone over. But here, I want to go ahead and go over. I'm already going to have D-Reaper's or Mother's effect on the screen, so you will have seen that at some point. So I'm going to go over each effect as it comes up. So here, what we're going to worry about is main, once per turn, if you don't have another Mother D-Reaper in play, you can place an ADR Searcher from your trash, or from your hand, or from on the field under this Digimon as one of its Digivolution cards. So, have a Searcher, you have the Searcher, you do it, you add it once per turn. You can only do that once per turn, hand or field, whatever. So, the other effect that I wanted to go over here for this first example is your turn once per turn. When you would play a card with D-Reaper in its traits from your hand, you may reduce its play cost by 1 for each Digivolution card underneath it. So here in, let's say player B on the other side has a Psychmon, and you decide to go ahead and play down the Searcher. So of course Psychmon stops Searcher's effect, which is if you can reduce its play cost by 2 if you don't have another Searcher in play. That's all fine and dandy. We're not worried about that here. But in this situation, let's say we have a stack like this, where we have, pardon the unsleeved cards, we have 3 Searchers underneath Mother D-Reaper. So that would effectively mean that we could reduce the play cost of Searcher to 0. But Psychmon's on the side of the field. Now, Mother D-Reaper's effect is optional. You can choose not to activate it. So whenever you play something, you can choose not to interrupt it and reduce the play cost. That's fine and dandy. But if you do choose to activate it, you can activate it. You can use the effect to play down this Searcher and attempt to reduce its play cost to 0. Psychmon stops that. This does use up the once per turn. So let's say you have an effect that lets you play this. Let's say it's like Pallades Head, and then you use Pallades Head to delete the Psychmon, and then you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to go ahead and use its effect again to play down another one and reduce its play cost. That will not work because you have already activated the effect and you've used up its once per turn. Of course, this is easily avoidable by the fact that it is just a optional effect, so you could choose not to activate it, but do know that it is activated still. This was an issue in the Q&A that we found out, where the Q&A states that you can't activate the effect. That's really just a little misnomer there, a little issue on the wording. The effect can activate, it just will resolve without an effect because Psychmon stops it. So something I want to make sure that was gone over: if you do have a Psychmon on the side of the field, you can just effectively use up your once per turn, even if you were able to get rid of the Psychmon afterwards. So that is going to be all for that example. And then the last example is going to have to do with a bunch of other things. All turns, this Digimon can't be attacked, can't attack, and it isn't affected by your opponent's effects. So, of course, it can be attacked. So if you are able to attack an unsuspended Digimon, your opponent can just go ahead and attack into Mother D-Reaper. That's perfectly fine. But Mother D-Reaper herself cannot attack. Also, she is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So in that situation, let's say you have an effect where your opponent will decide to go ahead and play a Gaia, or use a Gaia Force. You have something like this. You have a Mother D-Reaper and an ADR Searcher. They decide, I'm going to use Gaia Force. Or maybe they check the Gaia Force out of security. What are we going to do here? So there's 2 things that can happen here. Of course, Mother D-Reaper is not going to be deleted by this pretty Gaia Force. But you can target Mother D-Reaper for the effect of Gaia Force. So even though it won't be deleted, you can still target Mother for the effect, and it just won't have any effect. It'll just, the Gaia Force will try to target it, resolve with that effect, go ahead and go to the trash. Why would you do this? Well, in this situation, we just have a Searcher on the field, so it's not that big a deal. But what if you had something that had like an on-deletion effect that you did not want to trigger when you deleted the Digimon? Then you can use that Gaia Force out of security and target Mother. Mother will, of course, not be deleted, but she is a valid target. She is just not affected by card effects. So you are able to go ahead and do that. So that's the first example. The second example I kind of wanted to go over, let's bring the Psychmon back out. This is going to be for either Mother or ADR Searcher, right? So in this situation, we're going to have a Pandemonium Flame. So Pandemonium Flame, of course, is going to be, you may target one of your, you may delete one of your Digimon to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the same level, less than or equal to this Digimon's equal to that Digimon deleted level. So in this situation, we use this, assuming we have a purple source on field, and you can delete mother or whatever, we'll just go ahead and try to delete the searcher here. So you delete the searcher. Well, does that mean I can delete anything? No, you actually are not allowed to delete anything because you've deleted your searcher, but there is not another Digimon that has no level. And even if there was, that doesn't work that way. So if you have, let's say you use Pandemonium Flare, your opponent has another searcher, well, they both have no level, so I'll be able to delete them. That is not the case. It has no level. So Pandemonium Flare effectively just deletes your body and then doesn't delete anything else on the side of the field because nothing else is less than or equal to nothing. That doesn't work that way, even if it has no play cost. Just the same, you can delete your searcher, you will not be able to delete the Psychmon. Neither will the searcher be able to delete the searcher. Now in this situation, if you are using Pandemonium Flame, don't forget, you can still delete your Mother D Reaper. You can use that effect because you are allowed to. Mother D Reaper is not affected by your opponent's effects, but is still affected by your effects. So you could use something like Deathclaw, pop your Mother D Reaper to pop another one. I had somebody ask me this question where they were like, well, you know, you usually want to keep one Mother on the field, but what if I hatch another one and raise it up? Then you can use a Deathclaw on this for a free body for Deathclaw. What Mad Lad is playing purple Deathclaw with D Reaper? That's for you to find out eventually. Maybe you'll run against some crazy person like that, but we'll have that happen. So that's Pandemonium Flame. Another situation that involves level or more so play cost. So I mentioned earlier that Mother D Reaper. Now this might seem a little chaos, but there is no rhyme or reason to why I have these set up the way they do. It's just kind of how they're sitting in my hand. But Mother D Reaper has no play cost. So if your opponent hits Dark Gaia Force out of security, or you hit Dark Gaia Force out of security, which says delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 15 or less, and let's say this is a Digimon with an on-deletion effect, or it could just be the Searcher. With the Gaia Force example, you could still target Mother D Reaper because it's a Digimon. You can still attempt to delete it even though nothing will happen. In Dark Gaia Force's case, where you have to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 15 or less, just because Mother D Reaper has no play cost does not mean it is less than 15. It just has no play cost. So it cannot be targeted by Dark Gaia Force. If this is another on-deletion Digimon, then you have to legally target this one because it's the only viable target. So in just this scenario where it's a Searcher, the Searcher is the only one that you can target. You can't do anything to the Mother D Reaper because she has no play cost. In the same vein of that, we also have Gweltschwarmer. A lot of people know what Gweltschwarmer does because it saw play in Three Musketeers and a few other security control lists, but Gweltschwarmer is the same way. Let's say you, as the player, let's say you have a black source and you're going to use Gweltschwarmer to clear your opponent's board. It'll clear your stuff too. Are you just destroying your own Mother D Reaper? Not the case. Mother D Reaper has no play cost, as in the scenario with Dark Gaia Force. So since it has no play cost, it does not have a play cost of 7 or less. So you delete everything else on your field with a play cost of 7 or less, but Mother D Reaper will stay. Having no play cost means that she is completely ignored by Gweltschwarmer. Of course, if your opponent also uses this, it's one of your opponent's effects, it'll just get ignored anyway. It'll still target it, but it won't get ignored. It won't be able to do anything. And then the last scenario that I have to go over, again, there could be multiple scenarios. If you guys think of anything else, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them for you. But this is going to involve tactical retreat. Had a bunch of people ask me. This one was weird. So let's say you have a yellow source on your field and you use tactical retreat targeting your Mother D Reaper. So the fact is, Digi-Eggs cannot exist in security. So in this situation, you'll target your Mother D Reaper to try to put it in security. What'll happen here is Mother D Reaper will then just go to the bottom of the Digi-Egg deck. It will not go to security. It will not go to trash. It tries to go to security, but since it cannot exist in security or in hand or in deck, any effect that would send it, tactical retreat just tries to send it to security. If it goes to trash, sure, you know, Deathclaw will go to trash. But if it tries to go to security by an effect, tries to go to your hand by an effect, or if it tries to go to your deck by an effect, what'll happen is since Digi-Eggs can't exist there, it'll go ahead and get tucked to the bottom of this egg deck. not a lot of situations where you would want to get rid of your own Mother D Reaper, other than the fact of like if you were trying to bring up a second Mother D Reaper and then go ahead and use Tactical Retreat to put the second one in there, it just ends up on the bottom of the egg deck. So don't do that. That wouldn't affect anything. But that is pretty much all I have for you for some Mother D Reaper interactions involving some how her effect works with DP reduction, or how her effect works with play cost reduction, how it can be used up even if you decide to activate it. That's a little Q&A issue that I noticed. And then the fact that it has a level and it can exist on the field, or it has no level, it has no play cost, and it can exist on the field. I hope some of these things are able to answer it. This is a long section. It's like I think it's looking at like an 11-minute long section. Might have rambled a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I got these points across so you guys know how Mother D Reaper is supposed to properly work. Again, if you have any other questions, any other examples that maybe I missed or that you can think of, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them. Feel happy to. Alright everyone, and that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. A little bit of a rambly one for the last section, but there were a lot of things I wanted to go over. I didn't feel like just constantly cutting them out, taking away, since we are focusing on Mother for that last one. I just wanted to give all the focus to that, keep it as one long section. It is a longer section. Most of the other rulings are a couple minutes long. That one's a good almost 12 minutes long. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys got you learned a whole lot about this. I know for a smaller set, there were actually a decent amount of rulings, whereas like EX01 only had a few things, in my opinion. This set had a lot of interesting things, brought a few things to the table, a few effects and a few interactions, especially with D Reaper cards, that were important to go over in my opinion. So if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments down below as well about any other rulings or questions you have. If you have any super long ones, maybe I can put them into a longer video where we go over some effect resolutions or some certain effects that should have a little bit more explanation. So be sure to leave your comments and hit the notification bell so when you know these ruling videos, gameplay videos, and deck profiles go live. I hope you guys do enjoy EX02 now that it is out. Digital Hazard is a super fun set. I'm going to have a ton of fun with it. Hopefully I can get around to playing in it a little bit. Got some judging things that I got to take care of first. And then as well, I hope Bandai addresses those erratas by the time this video goes live. Hopefully they do, and this isn't the only evidence that you can go. I mean, there's a few other places you can go to find the erratas, but hopefully Bandai puts those out so you guys can get those and have that source on the Bandai website to get access to. But again, enough of my rambling. With all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.